In the hushed village of Agyta, cradled by swaying palms and roads stained red with dust, lived Ningxi. Her world was a cage of devotion. Elder Aneo, her father, a stern church deacon, and Mama Ai, her mother, the unwavering women's leader, ruled their home with an iron fist. Each dawn broke with prayer, each night surrendered to Bible verses. Ningxi, their lone daughter, beautiful and brilliant, was afforded no choice, no freedom. Her heart, however, beat for a man her parents loathed, Oduma. Oduma was a storm. Unyielding, rebellious, he hailed from a family whose very name was synonymous with chaos. Their arguments, legendary and loud, echoed through Agyta, only to be replaced by laughter hours later. A divorce threat at midday could dissolve into reconciliation by dusk. Peace never dared linger for a full day in their volatile home. Villagers, repelled by the ceaseless drama, shunned the Odumas and by extension Oduma himself. But Ningxi saw him differently. He saw her. He heard her silent yearnings. Oduma was a brazen, open book, a fiery opposite to the rigid order of her life. With him she felt untethered, alive. She was a moth drawn inexorably to his flame, loud, fearless, and fiercely loyal. One fateful day, under a seemingly tranquil sky, she brought him home. Birds sang a deceptive lullaby. The moment Elder Aneo wrenched open the door and saw Oduma, the air itself thickened, turning to ice. "What is he doing here?" His voice ripped through the house, rattling the very windows. "That boy from that house. Over my dead body." Ningxi froze, a statue of dread. Oduma's gaze dropped. Mama Eber, her voice a fragile whisper against the storm, tried to intercede. "Let him speak, my husband." But Elder Aneo roared again. "A child nurtured in fire cannot bestow peace." Oduma turned and walked away. Ningxi sprinted after him, tears blurring her vision. "Don't listen," she choked. He stopped, his touch on her face a balm. "I won't let go. Not now." In that agonizing moment, Ningxi made a silent, searing vow. If the world stood against them, she would choose him. No matter the cost. One morning, Ningxi appeared in the parlor, a letter clutched in hands red and swollen like overripe tomatoes. Her voice, a mere wisp of the morning breeze, broke the stillness. "Mama, Papa, I got admission." Elder Aneo exploded from his seat, shouting, "Praise the Lord." Mama Eber sank to her knees, arms outstretched to the heavens. "God has done it. My daughter will be a graduate." No celebration, only fervent prayers. They were poor, but they emptied their souls for her. Her father produced his meager savings. Her mother packed a small bag, rice, beans, a sliver of soap. They clasped her hands, praying until their voices cracked. "Go and make us proud," her mother whispered, clinging to her. "Don't forget who you are," her father added, pressing a worn Bible into her trembling hands. Ningxi nodded, her face calm, but her heart thrummed like a drum caught in a torrential rain. That same evening, after tear-soaked goodbyes, Ningxi vanished. Not to a university teeming with books, not to a city vibrant with new knowledge. She ran to Oduma, and together they fled. Far from Agyta, they found a forgotten town, a place where their names held no echo. Oduma's friend offered them a single, crumbling room. The walls were broken, the mattress a lumpy relic. The air hung thick and scorching like pepper soup at noon. The fan whined like a wailing child. The window, devoid of glass, was crudely draped with a torn wrapper. Yet Ningxi smiled. He was with him. Each dawn they woke to hunger but to each other. Each night they clutched hands, whispering promises of luxuries they couldn't afford. "Don't worry," Oduma would declare. "I'll find a job. I'll buy you everything." Ningxi would nod, her faith unwavering. "I believe you." But the truth, a silent, grim visitor, lingered in the corner. There was no job. There was no money. Oduma scoured the streets daily, returning with the dust of desperation clinging to his face, a shadow of despair in his eyes. Ningxi sold peanuts, cold water, even second-hand clothes on weekends, but it was never enough. Soon one meal a day became their norm. Often they slept with only water in their bellies. Still she stayed. Her heart had chosen him. Love, she believed, would conquer all. But love alone cannot boil a yam. And soon, something else began to stir within Ningxi's body. Something that would shatter their fragile world. It began one gray morning. The room was deathly quiet. Ningxi stumbled outside, collapsing by the gutter, clutching her stomach. She retched violently, her body expelling something it fiercely rejected. Wiping her mouth, she sank to the cold ground, her hands shaking. A terrible certainty bloomed within her. At a small clinic, the nurse's smile was a cruel mockery. "Congratulations." Ningxi didn't smile back. She walked home, her slippers dragging through the dust, her heart pounding like a frantic drumbeat during a village dance. She pushed open the door to find Oduma fanning himself on the bed. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Oduma sat bolt upright, his smile dissolving. "Pregnant?" His voice was a raw question. "How are you sure?" She nodded. His gaze darted from the wall to the floor, then back to her. He ran a hand through his hair. "No job, no money. How can I be a father now? This is too much." That night, as the moon peered through the torn window, Ningxi slept. Oduma, a ghost in the darkness, packed his meager belongings. One shirt, one pair of trousers, a single bag. He looked at her one last time, a whispered, "I can't do this," escaping his lips. Then he fled. By morning his shoes were gone. His voice gone. The bed cold. Ningxi sat huddled in the corner, clutching her knees. No loud sobs, just tears, slow and steady like a broken tap. "I was warned," she whispered, the words tasting like ash. Her friends arrived later, their faces etched with sorrow. They listened, they sighed. "Forget that boy," one declared. "He's not worth your tears." Another added, "A baby will just hold you back. You're young. Just remove it and move on." Ningxi shook her head. "No. I can't. In my family it's taboo." They laughed. "Who will know? We've done it before. It's nothing." For 2 days they pleaded. On the third, one produced a small packet. "Take this. Drink it. You'll be fine." Ningxi stared at the pills, then at her empty room, then at the aching void in her chest. And she took them. That night her stomach convulsed, a knot of agonizing pain. She bled. She wept. She lay on the cold floor, broken. By morning the baby was gone. She looked at the blood, touched her empty belly and whispered, "I'm sorry." The room was quiet again. Oduma was still gone. But something inside her had irrevocably shifted. Something had died and something dark had been born. After the child was gone, Ningxi's tears dried. Her eyes became like cracked earth after a drought. Her friends cleaned her face, dressed her and sculpted a new smile upon her lips. But this smile was different. "Enough crying," they declared. "Let's show you how to truly live." They gave her a scarlet dress, shockingly short, clinging to her like a second skin. They painted her lips a defiant red, gave her heels that clicked like horse hooves on cement. That night they led her to a bar. The air was thick with smoke and cheap perfume. Music pulsed, a sweet poison. Men laughed, glasses clinked, eyes devoured. A man in a luxurious car beckoned. "You're beautiful," he purred, pressing money into her palm. "Come, sit with me." She sat. She laughed. She danced. That night she tasted power, the intoxicating power of male attention. She looked in the mirror and saw a stranger. Not the church girl, not the weeping girl, but a woman who commanded what she desired. Soon wealthy men queued like sheep waiting for water. They called her baby, sweetie, princess. They showered her with phones, shoes, clothes. They asked no questions, she offered no truths. Each man believed he was special, but Ningxi had learned a brutal lesson. Feelings don't feed you. Money does. She played her game with chilling precision. Then came another pregnancy. She didn't panic. She laughed. She called her friend. The pills came. Gone. Another pregnancy. Gone again. The third. Gone. A fourth. Gone. Each vanished without a trace. No cradle, no name, no tears. Only the wrapper she used to clean herself and the bitter tea she drank afterwards. Her body became a silent graveyard. But outside she danced. She wore gold. Her smile was wide, blinding. People whispered, "That girl is living her best life." Yet her heart knew the desolate truth. She was not clean. She was not free. She was merely a feather, adrift without wind. Time, a relentless current, flowed on. And then it happened again. Her 7th pregnancy. But this one refused to yield. Ningxi took the pills. Nothing. Another dose. Still the baby clung, a stubborn yam refusing to boil. She sought another clinic. The nurse's face was grim. You're too far gone. This one you must carry. Removing it now could destroy your womb. The words hit Ningxi like a physical blow. Motherhood? She wasn't ready. Yet here was a life defiantly clinging on. For the first time Ningxi walked through 9 long months with a baby in her belly. Her stomach swelled. Her body transformed. Her feet throbbed. But her heart remained a cold, arid landscape. No joy, no lullabies, no baby clothes shopping. Only silence. She told no one. She concealed her swelling belly with voluminous clothes, tight wrappers. When questioned, she'd laugh it off. Just wait, she'd jest. But deep inside she knew. This child was coming. The day arrived in the silent shroud of evening. No one else was there. Only her and the searing pain. She screamed into her pillow, bit her lip raw, cried without tears. The baby came. A boy. Tiny fingers, warm skin, eyes like hers. But when she looked at him she felt nothing. No joy. No fear. No love. Only a terrifying emptiness. She sat on the floor holding him as hours bled into each other. The baby cried softly as if sensing her despair. Then a chilling plan formed. She would take the baby to any man she had been with, force it upon them. After all, she'd been with so many. Whose child was this? The next morning she carried him to the first. This is your child, she declared. He scoffed. Are you mad? I've never touched you without protection. The second man snarled. Thief. Get away. The third called the police. By the third day Ningxi was exhausted. The baby's cries were a constant, piercing sound. She looked at him, despair heavy in her whisper. I don't know what to do with you. That evening she wrapped him in a white cloth. She walked for miles, past the shops, past the market, past the park, until she reached a vast black bin by an old fence. It overflowed with filth. Flies danced in the putrid air. The stench of death hung heavy. He looked around. No one. Then she lifted the lid. She looked at the baby one last time. He blinked. Boom. He dropped him in. Slammed the lid shut. And ran. He didn't look back. Didn't utter a sound. She went home, washed her face and told herself, it's over. From that day she buried it. Deep. When her friends came, Ningxi smiled, a practiced lie. He finally agreed to take the baby, she claimed. He came back. He took him. They embraced her. See? We told you. Men always come around. She nodded, but inside her chest felt like a sack of wet sand. She cleaned her face, applied makeup, clicked on her heels. That night she followed them to the bar. The music throbbed. Lights flashed. Men bought drinks. Laughter roared. She danced. She laughed. But inside it was quiet. Terribly quiet. The laughter didn't reach her bones. The drinks tasted like ash. The compliments felt hollow. She smiled, but her eyes remained vacant. Her friends, oblivious, kept saying, Ningxi, you look hotter than ever. She'd nod. But every night, after she stripped off the defiant red dress and wiped away the mask of makeup, she sat alone on her bed, staring at the ceiling. She heard a baby cry in her mind, even when silence reigned. Sometimes she'd feel an unseen gaze upon her, 2 small eyes from a dark bin still following. She'd shake her head, whispering, stop it. It's over. But it didn't stop. It clung to her like a shadow, a stain beneath clean cloth. The days blurred. She returned to the life she knew, sugar daddies, bars, fleeting money. But the sweetness was gone. It felt like chewing dry leaves. A profound weariness settled within her. Not the kind sleep could cure, but a bone-deep exhaustion from the soul. One day, sitting on a plastic chair watching other girls laugh and dance, she whispered to herself, is this all there is? No one answered. Only silence sat beside her. Ningxi was tired. Tired of the lies. Tired of the bars. Tired of men who vanished with the morning light. She told herself, maybe it's time to be normal. That's when she met Emma. He wasn't rich, didn't drive a grand car. But he carried something she craved, peace. Emma was a teacher. His voice was soft, like wind rustling cassava leaves. He spoke gently, moved slowly, smiled easily. He didn't look at her body, he looked into her eyes. Marry me, he said one evening. She blinked. Me? Yes, he affirmed. You're the woman I've been praying for. Her heart leaped. No man had ever prayed for her before. They married in a humble church. A handful of guests, a simple white dress, a scattering of rice. No fanfare. No lies. For the first time in years, Ningxi felt like a wife. She cooked, she cleaned, she waited by the door for his return. At night, he touched her with tender reverence, holding her as if she might shatter. She dared to believe. Perhaps, just perhaps, her past had remained buried. But after 1 year, no child came. 2 years still empty. Whispers began to circle. Is she a woman or a log of wood? She looks healthy, but nothing is moving inside her. Emma's mother arrived for a visit. A week she stayed. On the 7th night she confronted Emma. That girl, she's hiding something. Emma said nothing, but his eyes began to change. His smile thinned. He came home later, slept with his back to her. Ningxi tried everything. His favorite soup, her prettiest wrapper, massaging his feet. But his gaze was distant. Then one morning he meticulously folded his clothes into a bag. She stood by the door, clutching her wrapper tight. You're leaving? She asked, her voice trembling. He nodded. I can't wait forever. She said nothing. He looked at her one last time, whispered, I'm sorry. Then he walked out. Just like that, another home shattered, another heart broken. Ningxi stood alone again. No child. No husband. No answers. Only silence. After Emma left, Ningxi didn't cry. She just walked, dust clinging to her feet, her eyes blank. Her body moved, but her spirit seemed to lag somewhere behind. She returned to her small room, the one with the whining fan and the broken chair. She cleaned it, lit a candle, and sat in the suffocating dark. That Sunday she wore white and went to church. She didn't sing. She didn't dance. She just knelt, staring at the altar, a desperate plea in her heart. After service the pastor called her. My daughter, he said, his voice grave. The Lord is revealing something. She looked at him. There's something you've buried. Something deep. Something you must confess. She forced a brittle smile. Me? I've done nothing, sir. The pastor's eyes narrowed. Don't lie to God. Go and speak the truth or it will chase you forever. Ningxi rose slowly. I don't know what you're talking about, she whispered and fled before he could speak again. Back in her room she sat on the bed. He thought of the baby in the bin. The 6 others nameless. Dima, Emma, Uche. But she said nothing. She didn't write. She didn't pray. She didn't confess. Her heart was sealed shut, a metal gate. It's too late, she told herself. Nobody will understand. So she wore her pain like makeup, covered her past with perfume, sat in the front row at church and clapped like everyone else. But each time the pastor spoke of mercy, her chest would tighten. She'd swallow hard, pretending, because her shame was a roaring beast louder than any voice. And though the truth relentlessly hammered at her door, Ningxi kept it bolted. Then came Kojo. Tall as a palm tree, skin smooth as ripe banana, voice deep as a village drum. He drove a black car that purred like a contented lion. His clothes were immaculate. His smile serene. His hands looked as though they had never known pain. Kojo was unlike Oduma, unlike Emma, unlike Uche. He was different. What do you do? He asked. She smiled and the lie slipped out, practiced and smooth. I'm a graduate. Business administration. He smiled back. You're exactly the woman I've been praying for. She laughed gently, but deep within her heart whispered, don't lie again. He ignored it. They spent time together. He took her to exquisite places, lavished her with gifts, listened intently to her every word. He didn't rush her. He didn't touch her without permission. Kojo possessed class. Kojo possessed peace. And for the first time Ningxi felt like she could breathe again. He buried everything. No mention of Oduma. No whisper of Emma or Uche. No trace of the baby in the bin. All buried like seeds she prayed would never sprout. One day he declared, I want to meet your parents. Her heart leaped, but she said, yes. She took him home to Agita. Elder Aneo's eyes widened at the sight of Kojo. This one has sense. Mama Eber couldn't stop smiling. My daughter has brought us joy again. They prayed. They sang. They danced. And when Kojo knelt asking, will you marry me? Ningxi looked at her parents, then at the man before her, and a joyous yes escaped her lips. The wedding date was set. Cards printed. Dresses sewn. For the first time in her life, Ningxi looked in the mirror and whispered, "Maybe God has forgiven me. Maybe this one will last." She was happy. But the past does not die. It only sleeps. And the day it awakens, it doesn't knock. The morning dawned bright. Birds sang, a gentle wind stirred. Ningxi wore a yellow dress, her smile wide, like a river under the sun. It was the day she would meet Kojo's family. He held her hand as they walked to the grand house. "Don't be shy," he whispered. "They'll love you." She nodded, but her heart hammered like a drum warning a village. The house was vast, the gate gilded, the compound immaculate like a church floor on Sunday. They knocked. A maid opened the door. Then Kojo's mother emerged, wiping her wet hands on her wrapper. The moment her eyes landed on Ningxi, she froze. Her lips parted. Her eyes widened. She recoiled slowly as if she'd seen a specter. "Is it not you?" she demanded. Ningxi blinked. "Ma." The woman ignored her, turning to shout into the house, "Davis! Come out!" Footsteps echoed from the hallway, light, uncertain. Then a boy appeared. Perhaps 10 years old. A blue t-shirt, brown shorts. Large, curious eyes. A sharp nose. Lips soft like hers. And when he stepped into the light, Ningxi saw it, her own face mirrored in his. The boy stared quiet still. Her knees buckled. Her lips trembled. Her hands began to shake violently. Kojo, confused, looked at his mother. "Mom, what is this?" But she didn't answer him. Her gaze burned into Ningxi. Her voice, sharp as a cutlass. "Do you remember what you did 10 years ago? Do you remember throwing a baby into a bin like trash?" Ningxi's breath hitched. Her world dissolved into a deafening silence. The ground beneath her felt like liquid. She tried to speak, but her mouth opened uselessly, no words emerging. She looked at the boy again. Still staring. Still silent. But deep inside her, something fractured and she knew. She had been found. The room was suffocatingly quiet. Kojo's mother stood tall, her eyes searing into Ningxi's soul. She pointed again. "Do you remember the baby in the bin?" Ningxi's legs gave out. She sank to her knees, a sack of yams hitting the floor. Her hands trembled. Her mouth opened and then a raw, broken whisper. "Yes," she choked. "Yes, it was me." Tears gushed. Her chest heaved like angry waves. "I was young. I was scared. I had no one. I didn't know he would survive. I didn't think." Her voice broke into wrenching sobs. Kojo staggered back, his face ashen. The boy, Davis, remained by the door, still, silent, staring. Then it all spilled out. Everything. She confessed about Oduma, about fleeing, about the lies, about the abortions, about the night she walked across town, opened that bin, and dropped her child inside like he was garbage. "I thought no one saw me," she wept. "I thought it was over." Kojo's eyes were wide, vacant. His lips didn't move. His mother crossed her arms, her voice a granite wall. "You cannot marry my son. You are not the kind of woman we want in our family." Ningxi cried harder. "Please. Accept. I know I'm not worthy, but let me have my child back. Let me hold him. Let him call me Mama just once." The woman slowly shook her head. "No." She looked at the boy. "He is mine. I raised him. I fed him. I cleaned his tears. He calls me Mommy. You lost that right 10 years ago. But I gave birth to him." Ningxi pleaded, her voice trembling like a wet leaf. "And you threw him away," the woman snapped. "You did not lose him. You threw him." Silence descended, heavy and absolute. Kojo turned, walking out of the room. The boy followed him. The door closed, leaving Ningxi on her knees, alone with her shattering tears. Everything she had buried had returned, and it had consumed everything. Her parents. They were there. They sat quietly in a corner, witnesses to the raw, public confession. Elder Aneo sat like a statue, his Bible resting on his lap, his hands motionless. His face was dry, but his eyes were empty. Mama Eber wept, not soft tears, but heavy, guttural sobs that tore from a broken soul. "My only daughter," she wailed. "My only daughter." Ningxi turned to them, her lips quivering. "Mama. I'm so sorry." Elder Aneo didn't look at her. He turned his face to the wall, his jaw tight. "You lied to us," he said slowly, each word a hammer blow. "You lied for years. She crawled on her knees toward him. Please. I was scared. I didn't want to bring shame. You have brought it now. He cut her off, sharp as a blade. Then came the words that broke her spirit. Don't come home again. Ningxi froze. Papa. He stood. We raised you with the word of God. We gave you everything we had and you repaid us with lies. Mama reached for him. Please, she's still our child. But Elder Aneo raised a hand. Not anymore. He walked out. Mama Eber knelt beside Ningxi, holding her for a fleeting moment. You should have told me, she whispered, a deep lament. You should have told me everything. Ningxi couldn't speak. Mama Eber kissed her forehead, then rose and followed her husband out the door. That night, the streets were quiet, the wind whipping dust into her eyes. Her wrapper flapped against her legs. Ningxi walked aimless. No husband. No son. No father's home to seek refuge in. The streetlights blinked, cold and distant. The sky was black. Her shadow stretched long behind her, lonely, desolate. For the first time in her life she had no one. After everything was stripped away, Ningxi shattered. Then she bent. And slowly, like a seed stirring in the deep earth, she began to change. From that day forward, Ningxi surrendered her life to God truly. She joined a local church, not as a member but as a servant. She cleaned the compound, meticulously arranged the chairs, wiped the floors. She fasted often, praying for mercy, for a crumb of forgiveness. She arrived early. She stayed late. She scrubbed toilets, carried chairs, swept the altar. She fasted until her lips turned pale. She prayed until her knees were dark and bruised like charcoal. Every time the pastor declared, "Mercy," her eyes would squeeze shut, her hands rising trembling to the heavens. People pointed. Isn't that the girl who dumped a baby? Look at her. Holy, holy after sinning. He heard it all. But she didn't retaliate. She only wept and served. She didn't know if peace would ever find her, but she made a solemn vow. If she had nothing else, she would dedicate the rest of her life to seeking God's forgiveness. Moral lesson. You can run from people but never from your past. Choices carry a heavy weight and the truth inevitably finds its way back. Yet even in the deepest shame, a path to mercy remains if the heart truly turns to God.